Welcome to the Beat Sessions, your place for all things music. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's talk about Jeff Tweedy and his record Twilight Override. He released that on September 26th. This is the fifth solo outing for the Wilco frontman and his follow-up to 2020's Love is the King. And this is the longest gap in between solo efforts since he began this journey back in 2017 with his debut Together at Last. But Jeff has been very busy with Wilco during that period. The band released Cruel Country back in 2022, Cousin in 2023, and the EP Hot Sun Cool Shroud in 2024. And I think it's worth noting too that between Wilco, his solo work, and side project Tweedy, that Jeff has released at least one record every year since 2014. Minus 2021, which makes sense since the world was in a massive state of disarray at that point. And it feels a little selfish to say it, but I wish he would have delivered a record during that time. And it stems from the fact that he's been very open about how writing music during difficult times serves as a healthy distraction. And I think his fans feel that energy too when they listen to his music. It's a massive part of why everything that he has touched dating back 4+ decades now has received critical acclaim. He has this uncanny ability to distill life's sadness and the exigencies of the world into adept and often cryptic poetic verse and universal storytelling. And it's all framed by the various influences that have inspired his diverse experimental songwriting over the years. And for better or for worse, it's probably also why he has been so prolific in the last decade. A period fraught with uncertainty and social discord in our country and the world as a whole. Twilight Override is a record that comes on the heels of so much anguish to encourage every listener to keep persevering, that life is still beautiful and worth celebrating each and every day. In the album's press release, Tweedy said that the record was focused on the bottomless basket of rock bottom of current social conditions, describing a sense of decline in the twilight of an empire, referencing the US, of course. But the album's purpose is to prove that, quote, when you align yourself with creation, you inherently take a side against destruction. You're on the side of creation. And that does a lot to quell the impulse to destroy. Creativity eats darkness, end quote. Twilight Override is a beautiful sentiment, and it starts with every individual earnestly believing in that idea. I got to admit that this record, from the standpoint of doing an album review, was a little daunting, given its robust nature. And I know I'm not the only one who questioned why not just release 3 records. But it all made sense once I picked up a copy of the album and dropped the needle and started doing a little research. I love that the creative starting point of this record was listening to the Clash's sprawling opus Sandinista while on a road trip with his sons Spencer and Sammy, who both make significant contributions to this record. And I love that he jokingly refers to Twilight Override as Sadinista. And the logic behind following in the footsteps of the Clash makes complete sense, and it's twofold for me. The first point feels like the most obvious. Let's create a massive record, but not simply for the sake of doing so. Let's create something that is truly special here. And there are major influences on this album of other lengthy classics like the White Album and the deriding and widely scorned Dylan record Self-Portrait, which feels like it has inspired Tweedy's trademark satirical ambivalence, not just here, but throughout his entire career. What Twilight Override captures, though, is a man who is genuinely at the height of his creative ability, making a project that challenges listeners from start to finish with its themes and with its length. He admits that the idea of a triple album is counterintuitive, but argues that, quote, by giving somebody a lot of music to luxuriate in, you're setting up a little barrier, but it's also for a certain type of listener to be rewarded. And I just thought that it flies in the face of a culture that's gotten faster, more surface level, end quote. The second point is that if you go all the way back to Jeff's work with Uncle Tupelo, it evinces the Clash as arguably the biggest influence on his artistic evolution, with Sandinista serving as the culmination of the Clash's goal to fuse countless genres within a punk rock foundation. I think many people would probably classify Uncle Tupelo's sound as alternative country, but at their heart is the same type of rockabilly punk sound that makes a band like Social Distortion so singular. And at the foundation of both bands, and so many others like The Clash, are the traditions of outlaw country music, which took the torch from American folk music. Even, even the etymology of the term punk in its modern definition captures a tangible incarnation of country artists like Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard, who were no doubt influenced by the likes of folk artists like Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger. I can't help but hear so many artists emulating the raw, minimal music arrangements and anti-establishment lyrics of these musical heroes. To see Tweedy create a record like Twilight Override feels like a pivotal moment, unifying the sounds of countless artists the same way the Clash were able to, and continuing a decades-long tradition of carrying the torch lit by these men, and also providing that glimmer of hope for other artists to continue to carry it into the future. Tweedy has stated that the three sections of Twilight Override are loosely based around the concepts of past, present, and future, but that the concepts aren't airtight. They leak into each other, and I like that. It's what I like too. I think it's what makes the record so approachable and enjoyable on many different levels. It's captivating from start to finish, but you can listen to the three discs out of order and it's still going to come together brilliantly. My favorite order to listen to this thing into, honestly, is disc 3 first, then disc 1, and disc 2 to finish, as I think the track Feel Free is the perfect way to end the project in general. I'd argue that the dominant sound of the record is classic rock, combining the folk-driven sounds of Neil Young and CSNY, Bob Dylan, the Byrds, and the Mamas and the Papas, with the psychedelic chamber pop influence of Brian Wilson and a touch of Lou Reed's pop sensibility and wayward guitar solos. I love that Lou even gets a special nod on one of my favorite tracks, Lou Reed Was My Babysitter. And another one of the many uplifting features of the album is the collaboration with his sons. Spencer teamed up with his dad to form Tweedy, who have only released one album to date, but he's also teamed up with him on the majority of his solo efforts. Kind of, I'd say, blurring the lines and making Tweedy seem somewhat defunct at this point. It is great to see Sammy in the mix, though, on this thing. He adds an incredible amount of depth to these songs with his synth work. And there's just a special energy that's derived from this dynamic that ties into the record's concept of creativity consuming the darkness. I think that sharing your passion with your children, and in this case, music, is one of the most rewarding aspects of parenting. I don't have any kids, so I wouldn't know, but if I did, I feel like that would be it. Your children might not always be receptive to what it is that you're bringing to the table, but it's the principle of applying oneself to something worthwhile that will hopefully resonate with younger generations, whether they follow in your footsteps or pursue their own path. And this joyous energy of family is palpable on this record, enhancing the uplifting spirit that Jeff is seeking here. The album also includes contributions from Liam Kazar, the duo of multi-instrumentalist Seema Cunningham and Macy Stewart of the Chicago band Phenom, and James Elkington of the Zincs, all of whom deliver stellar performances on this record. Twilight Override was co-produced by Jeff and Tom Schick, who worked with Jeff on all of his previous solo efforts, and both men do a fine job in collaborating to bring all of the instrumentation together on this one in a harmonious balance of rugged asperity and polished intrepidity. All right, let's get into this big track list. The album opens with the song One Tiny Flower. Got this great, ominous acoustic riff that opens things up with gentle touches of electric guitar. A driving bass and tom percussion gets things going with droning strings and trickles of piano. There's lighter vocal melodies from Jeff, especially with the title hook. They work brilliantly in stark contrast to the haunting atmosphere he creates. The nuance from all of the instrumentation is spectacular throughout the entire song. And I love the big segment in the middle where all of the instruments kind of get to take their turn, with the piano really being the highlight. It's a great balance of loose avant-garde that's kept together with just the right amount of structure, but I really enjoyed the way that it falls apart in a frenzy to finish. Your second track is entitled Caught Up in the Past. This one leads out with acoustic rhythm guitar and vocals for a few lines before the drums join to build the momentum. A bit of bass works in on a track that generates warmth and explores lines like, "No one stands a chance getting caught up in the past." I absolutely love the weight of that line. Strings bring marvelous depth to the chorus, and the song remains enthralling with the constant boost of energy and texture throughout. The track features a great violin solo with complementary touches of piano as well that work their way in from about the midway point towards the end. Your third track is entitled Parking Lot. Mellows things out with brushed percussion and a pensive, arpeggiated riff. It's atmospheric in its drive, with minimal and modest instrumentation that creates so much emotional profundity in a haze of Jeff's recitative reflections. It's a moody balance of the alternative country style he's so well known for, with jazz and other experimental textures, and just a hint of bluegrass. The quivering strings on this one are raw and powerful in their dissonance, with the softer textures in the song. It finishes in exuberant form. Jeff utters the lines, "I'd like to teach the world to sing. Fuck. Anything." The desperation in the word anything, feeling like a plea for any sign of life. Then the music waxes and wanes to finish out. Your fourth track is entitled Forever Never Ends. Layers of acoustic and electric guitar lead this one out to steer the record in a brighter direction. The drums build in to usher the vocals through the song, and this really exemplifies his knack for a rough-hewn narrative that's enhanced by music that feels threadbare and complacent, but ironically joyful as well. It takes off with full force, especially in the vocals, at about the minute and 45-second mark, with searing electric guitar vying for attention. It does this for the better part of a minute before mellowing into a coda that mimics the opening verse of the track. Your fifth song is entitled Love is for Love. Great, moody, acoustic riff with light electric guitar textures and a dark synth element that opens a track that utilizes a wonderful Latin influence. Brushed percussion dances around the shuffle of the acoustic guitar, a great riff that incorporates a bit of arpeggiation just at the perfect moments. It has that feeling of sitting in the back booth of a dimly lit club, basking in its darkness with fleeting glimpses of lifting melodic swells, and it finishes with a solid instrumental jam. Your sixth track is entitled Mirror, opens with mid-tempo percussion and heavy reverb on a light arpeggiated riff. I love the production on this track. Jeff's voice and the drums are fairly clean, but that guitar is brazenly coarse and murky, and they work perfect with each other. The line, "Your mind goes blind and you are erased. You will be the person taking your place," is absolutely stunning and one of my favorites from this record. Becomes even more enjoyable with the additional layers of guitar that develop through the track, particularly the modest riff that serves as a bridge for the song. It's slightly grungy with a steady pace that kind of reminds me a bit of the Smashing Pumpkins, especially like in the mid 90s when they started to get into the melancholy phase of things. Your seventh track is entitled Secret Door, leads out with a drumstick count and remains minimal with rollicking drums and a strong tone in the acoustic rhythm guitar. Has that classic indie folk feel with just a slight tint of country. Big fan of the way the opening riff serves as a bridge in this song. It's a fun and energetic way to bind the verses that explore the anguish of unbridled love, a big common theme with a lot of these songs. Your eighth track is entitled Betrayed. Drums create a bit of chaos to starts, and then that's reined in by acoustic guitar and a bit of tambourine. The drums work back in on the hi-hat for a few beats before this one takes off with infectious energy. Twinkly guitar moves around, repeated turns of the hook Betrayed, sung in a manner that feels almost joyous, as though that revelation has freed him from one of life's greatest burdens. A walking bass lick enhances the groove as well, with vocals that sound double-tracked to give them an appropriate boost. The harmonica that enters in the back half is quite enjoyable as well. It might be programming. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't see anybody playing the harmonica in the credits, but either way, it makes this song just feel so damn good. Your ninth track is entitled Sign of Life. Got this jaunty country style rhythm and electric guitar with a strong slide component that opened this one. The music is dreamy, but it remains grounded in Tweedy's recitative vocal element and the steely guitar parts. When he does sing, though, his voice is so delicate and frail, evoking heavy emotion to match the somber mood of the song. The violin on this one is gorgeous throughout, bringing a touch of dusky folk into the mix and stealing the spotlight for a brief solo just a bit after the midway point of the song. And then your final track on disc 1 is entitled Throwaway Lines. Your 10th track puts a great finishing touch on the balance of alternative country and experimental that really is at the core of this record, I feel. It's a simple song with acoustic guitar and vocals, but the fluttering strums and arpeggiated riff give great disorder within the fragility of its framework. It captures the disjointed mental state that I think sadness can really bring. The violin enters briefly towards the end to give the track a little more character, and I love the lines, "I'm afraid you can see what I really mean when I sing in between my throwaway lines." Something that you won't see on this record. For 30 tracks, it's so impressive how there's just no filler on this record. Every song feels like it belongs. So to start off with disc 2, you have your 11th track, Casey Rain, No Wonder. Opens with a folk-driven acoustic guitar that feels very Dylan-esque. Drums roll abjectly in the background as Tweedy's vocals come into focus, causing the guitar to have a great balancing effect between the two. There's a spirited crash and soaring vocals when he hits the chorus, singing, "I'm high in the morning," with different variations that follow on that. An erratic guitar solo takes hold for a bit in the middle of the track that adds to the energy that the vocal hook brings to this one. Your 12th song is entitled Out in the Dark. You got mid-tempo rhythm and multiple guitars that all come out together on this breezy track that embodies a bit kind of like tropical rock and island style. I guess kind of think of Jimmy Buffett. I love the prominence of the bass with its thick, firm tone that gives the song really nice body. It sounds great against the bright backing vocals from Seema, who takes over at about the halfway point of the song with a twinkly guitar solo and continues to provide great variation with her backing vocals. There's sporadic quivers from a violin that work nicely as well, and an unexpected crashing finish to close this thing out. Your 13th track is entitled Better Song. Got a big drum fill that leads this one out, but the percussion settles quickly behind an arpeggiated acoustic riff that has a bit of kind of reminds me a bit of House of the Rising Sun feel as recorded by the Animals, the most popular version. The soft touch of bass carries to the chorus where the drums find a bit more vigor in the chorus, and that also features stellar vocal harmonies. The song retreats briefly, but then returns with the energy that stays charmingly placid. I really like that dynamic there, and it feels like an energy that's carried throughout many of the songs on this album. Your 14th track is entitled New Orleans. Fluttering, fuzzy synths fade in with a second element that sounds kind of like a flute. This fizzles out as an acoustic guitar breaks through with minimal hollow percussion. It's pure and unadorned, with beautiful vocal harmonies that bring a gospel spirit to the song while also capturing the blues tradition. I feel like there's so much that New Orleans has to offer, and this song captures that. The fuzzy synths are reintroduced to interpolate frenzied, Eastern-inspired psychedelic guitar that honestly feels just a bit too loud in the mix. I will say this is a one hiccup in production, but the idea is marvelous for the track. It mellows briefly, leaving the listener in suspense before finishing with the stylings of a solo. Your 15th song is entitled Over My Head, Everything Goes. Acoustic rhythm charges in to create a captivating tension on this track. Second guitar works in with the drums before they both find their form in a setting that's ruled by the droning pallor of a violin. And then the violin fades, and the rest of the instrumentation settles around the vocals with sporadic bursts of instrumentation, the Eastern style guitars being my favorite on this one. The movement of the nuances is just spectacular in the first 2/3 of this one. Then I really like the contrasts, the way that instrumentation kind of finds a steady form in a very dreamy coda. Your 16th song is entitled Western Clear Skies. A mid-tempo indie folk arrangement creates a solid foundation and wonderful harmonization between Jeff and Seema on this one. The bass remains steady, but I love how the drums are unpredictable through this one. The energy picks up just a bit in the coda, with a fun little guitar lick adding character in the end. Otherwise, it remains relatively unaffected, but charming from start to finish. Your 17th track, is entitled Blank Baby. It's got thick, dusty, spaghetti western style guitar with droning synths that lead this one off, quickly incorporating chamber pop style harmonies. It's a wicked balance to open, and the track continues to build with a trickle of bass that introduces a methodical rhythm, moving just a bit slower than mid-tempo. And then you have this clacking percussive element that creeps in the background with swells of programming that sound like a full brass section from an orchestra. It's really just a nice element to this track. The layers of guitar that develop towards the end are enthralling as well. Just another song with a lot of great movement and great components that come together. Your 18th song is entitled No One's Moving On. It's a heartbreaking title. It's immediate with an up-tempo beat and a playful bass riff with lots of movement that feels like it's running instead of walking. Breezy layers of light electric guitar work with a gentle but energetic punk rock down-picking technique. Ethereal backing vocals work in waves, crashing in and fading out. I really like the way that those are executed. The energy of the track takes a subtle boost with a frenetic guitar solo to about the minute and 45-second mark, and that energy carries through to the finish, taking another slight boost in the coda with the vocal harmonies taking the lead. Strings swell towards the very end to finish while the production fades out on the rest of the instrumentation. Really love the way that the song closes as well. Your 19th track, and a highlight for me, your longest song as well, is entitled Feel Free. A soft electronic beat and subtle twinkles of synths quickly shift into a track driven by layers of country-tinged acoustic guitar. The drums morph into live drumming with a fluid little bass lick that carries a nice groove. Jeff's vocals have just great gravelly delicacy to them, enhanced by sporadic harmonies that are painted with gospel energy. They move in and out unexpectedly, always at the perfect time though. The guitar has great tone, that light island-inspired feel that pairs brilliantly with the hook, Feel Free. My favorite lines are Let It Be or Let It Bleed, John or Paul, Mick or Keith. Great little homage there. And make a record with your friends. Sing a song that never ends. Feel free. It's a fantastic ending line for the longest track on this record. a record that I really feel like ultimately reflects the spirit of this album. And it ends disc 2. Disc 3 starts with probably my favorite, though. Your 20th song is entitled Lou Reed Was My Babysitter. Definitely the best song title on the record. Opens with energetic percussion and acoustic guitar that create an infectious groove. It's a solid blend of indie folk and pop that relishes in the genius of Lou, particularly in its lyrical celebration of rock and roll. Jeff sings, "Rock and roll is dead, but the dead don't die." And a perfect explosion behind the repeated hook, "The dead don't die." The erratic bursts throughout the song are pure perfection as well. There's a great little segment that works a few times where the music gets jolty, shocking the listener out of the groove that serves the song quite well. Your 21st track is called Amar Bharati. Tones. It's going to turn things up, tones things down a little bit, with a simple acoustic arrangement and beautiful harmonies. The first half is distinguished by the hook, "It's every day," with the second half building on the hook, "It's still there, it's in the air." A psychedelic guitar solo takes hold of the track at about the minute and 40-second mark, shifting into a folk-driven classic rock territory for the coda. Your 22nd song is entitled Wedding Cake. This one's kind of wild. You got twinkly, psychedelic electric guitar paired with lullaby-inspired acoustic guitar that creates a somewhat sinister mood for this one, with screeching violins operating with subtle chaos in the backdrop. The electric guitar employs a number of techniques, including tremolo and screeching slides. Then gentle harmonies provide captivating contrast for a moment, while minimal percussion appears intermittently on the song. And as I said, this one is probably it's the shortest, I think, and the most experimental. It really is just kind of a fun, out in left field sort of track that really ultimately still fits in very well. Your 23rd song is entitled Stray Cats in Spain. The jaunty strum of electric guitar opens this one, enhanced by the panning production. It's great in the headphones. I really love the way that the riff continues with the vocals, maintaining its minimalism with soothing vocal harmonies providing texture. A soft fuzz starts to build at the halfway mark, ushering in euphoric strings that slowly swell to finish on this one. Your 24th song is entitled Ain't It a Shame? You got hypnotic, down-tempo acoustic guitar with a tiny bit of clopping percussion that lead this one off. The song maintains its tempo, but comes to life during the chorus with vocal harmonies built on the track's title. Bass drum and soft synth textures build in for the second verse, igniting a continuous build for the rest of the song. And then it shifts into an experimental guitar after just like the 2-minute and 30-second mark, with the drums taking full form in the final chorus to bring this one to an end. Your 25th track is your title track, Twilight Override. You got searing electric guitar with slide technique and twinkly arpeggiated acoustic rhythm that take hold of this one, with the electric guitar abating as the lyrics begin. It reappears, though, shortly after, playing whimsically in the background. A soft, groovy bass lick picks up the energy, along with a touch of bass drum. The track works into a solo backed by light vocal harmonies at about the 1-minute and 45-second mark, and finishes with a final run of verse and chorus with the refrain of Override welcoming a bit of violin to finish this one off. Track number 26 is entitled Too Real. It's going to fade in on shimmering, dueling electric guitars that provide an extended intro for this song. Vocals enter, backed by droning ooh harmonies, with soft strings making their way into the mix. A guitar solo with angelic tone takes control at about the 2-minute mark, with the continued swell of violin building off the back end of the song. This leads all of the texture to swell into the coda, creating a bright, ethereal mood to finish. Your 27th song is entitled This Is How It Ends. I feel like this one really captures a Neil Young feel with the driving acoustic rhythm guitar and mid-tempo rhythm. The bass, thick groove with just like serving as a highlight for me. I really love the thick tone on that bass. Kind of reminds me if he'd recorded Out on the Weekend with Crazy Horse. Jeff's lyrics of love coming to an end in the context of a night at the fair during a ride on a Ferris wheel double down on the song's Neil Young appeal as well, in my opinion. Light droning textures appear in an elegant fashion during the bridge, with a solo at about the 2-minute mark that provides even more of that Neil Young flair. I feel like this song, more than anyone, really channels that influence. Song number 28 is entitled Saddest Eyes. You got acoustic guitar with a bit of electric guitar that start this one off as drums build in loosely. The percussion remains playfully disjointed while the guitars saunter along in a soothing groove. The chorus begins with the drums finding more conventional form. Behind the hook, you have the saddest eyes before shifting back and forth between the loose percussion-driven structure of the verses. And then the track moves between verse and chorus for the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds or so before moving into a coda that features a very enjoyable, playful jam. Song number 29 is entitled Cry Baby Cry. Your penultimate track is somber and minimal, built on acoustic guitar and a simple clacking rhythm. Harmonies boost the hook Cry Baby Cry through the chorus as the soft sound of a social setting can be heard. Perhaps maybe a bar. It could be any social setting, but my guess would be a bar. The rhythm hits in exquisite fashion to start the second verse, and I love the way it mellows during the harmonies that mark the second turn of the chorus. A solo goes to work just after the 2-minute and 30-second mark, and a bit of violin that enters in the coda coalesces the mood of the track perfectly. And then your final song, your 30th track, is entitled Enough. Jeff gives the final track great energy with upbeat acoustic rhythm and a percussive bell that leads in on a drum fill to start. You got a wiry electric guitar riff that takes the lead to finish the intro, disappearing with the start of the verse, but serving as a bridge throughout the song. And I love the way the electric guitar grinds against the smooth acoustic rhythm, with the pop of the bass giving the dynamic, giving it more depth. Middle 8 takes hold at about the minute and 40-second mark. It's really kind of like the only time we see him incorporate a middle 8 into a track, leading onto a solo built off of the main riff of the song. There's one more turn of the verse and chorus before the track finishes with another solo. And wow, it's a lot of tracks to talk about. This album is phenomenal. I was very impressed. It's very difficult to do something like this, to put together a project with this much content and have all of it feel like it's necessary, have all of it feel like it's needed. There's a couple examples that I mentioned earlier on in the review, the inspiration of The Clash, the White Album from the Beatles, Bob Dylan, but there's very few examples of this in music over the last 60, 70, 80 some odd years. It's an incredible feat. And of all the singer-songwriters that are out there right now, I feel like he's the guy to do it. He's had such a stellar career, and it just feels like the consistency that's there. Every single record that just continues to receive praise, and rightfully so. This thing deserves every second of your time for as long as it is. I love the challenge. And I think it's one of those records that will definitely pay off. And I would say on future listens, mix those discs up. And the other great thing about it too is that if you have a favorite disc, it's nice to just have that go-to from time to time. I think each disc stands up great on his own, but this thing comes together so well, and I'm so thrilled for him and to have this project out there in the world. I'm going to give this thing an 8.6 out of 10. Already scooped it up at my local record store, Zia Records, but if you haven't yet, dip by your local store, support that business, and I really hope you enjoyed this record. I hope you find this review helpful as well. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel. If you're feeling generous, please drop a super chat or a super gift. All of that stuff is very helpful in helping me grow this channel and blowing it up through 2025. And stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews. We will see you next time on the Beat Sessions.